Da 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 da. It's USS Texas. Sorry, I know that's The Simpsons, but you know, it seemed appropriate in my head then. So let's see. A friendly, handy phrase for those, shall we say, delicate historical events is not saying it's right, but it is what happened. Hat tip to the fat electrician for that one. That is a good phrase. My other favourite one is humans be humans. And they take their own time to evolve. So what we're going to discuss is what they felt and what they thought at the time. Live with it. You can't rewrite history. The trouble is when a historian says that is that's literally what quite a lot of us try and do. But usually when we're trying to rewrite history, the vast majority of my colleagues who are historians are trying to rewrite history because we've discovered more primary sources and evidence. Therefore, we can more accurately write the history, and we can go, well, you know, we've always had this as happening because of this. Well, actually, it goes this causes this, which interacts with this, which has this effect, which causes this to happen, which then causes that to happen, which then leads to this. And people are looking and going, oh, so it's not an A to B event? No. It's an A to the X, to the Y, to the Z, to the V, to the G, to the H, to the A, to the B, to the C, to the E, to the F, and finally to the B again. Event. And they're looking and going, okay, you're just making these things complicated, aren't you, for the hell of it? Excuse the French. We're not. We just want to understand more clearly. And for that, more information is always better. More information is always better. Fulcrum. I don't think Tirpitz would have enjoyed getting in the ring with Texas. The USS 14-inch gun was an excellent weapon, and the Mark 16 shell was only 300 pounds lighter than the German 15-inch. Add to that, Texas had 10 tubes versus Tirpitz 8. Plus, it's a Texas. As I was saying, there are some ships which the laws of physics and statistics do not seem to apply to them. They are interesting vessels, but they do exist. They do exist. And as fun as they can be, yeah, they cause problems for history. CTX SLPR? I'm tempted to just call you Slipper, I have to admit. Just Slipper. Putting USS Texas and HMS Warspite in the same task force would just have ended up with Warspite bombing into Texas accidentally, in all senses of the word. Potentially, but also potentially they would have gone for world domination. Hashmal. I see Texas, therefore is the Reverend Mother of the US Navy. Never ever count against Texas. She is a special ship. By the way, when searching for your book in US Amazon, it does not show up when you search your name, but does show up when searching on its title. I'm just not that famous yet. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Canocled. If Texas and Warspite are combined task group, Haida has to be in the escort along with some Polish destroyers. I believe Haida, Nubian, Eskimo, Ashanti, Tata, Huron, Piron, Blizwankia, and some Fletcher class would all be competing for the honor, and fairly certain such a force would sweep the world before it. Yes. That force would be truly unstoppable. There are a few other ships I would add to it, but let's be honest. Probably... Ooh. Probably... Would I add Enterprise to it? Yes. Which British carrier would I add to it? Which British carrier has a similar interesting track record of doing random, strange, weird things and coming out on top? Well, she might be limited to 25 knots top speed by the end of the war, but Illustrious is fairly good up there. She does all sorts of random things and keeps on trucking. She always keeps on trucking. Victorious is... Victorious is also... But there again, she has all the big rebuild Lexia war. So, yeah, let's go with Illustrious. Ark Royal is presumed to be killed many occasions, but is finally lost through several people on her ship are not bothering to follow, not following believing that the manual must be wrong when it says to the counterflood. because you do not letting water into a ship is the enemy's job, not yours. But we'll leave that to one side. Those people were going against the actual instructions in the actual documents that told them how to deal with these things on a carrier, because a carrier has a high metacentric height. See you out. Watching this a day late, and I haven't seen the Warspite vid, but just from this I suspect that if Texas and Warspite had been in the same task group, that after running out of targets locally, they would have gone looking for more. Probably to the north, as the targets in the train were already softened up. Oh, good lord. Nathan, in this day and age, Dr. Clarke, in this day and age, in your opinion, would battleships be practiced if they were nuclear powered, designed to be escorted, armed with large caliber saber rounds to provide long-range cheap artillery fire support, and were armored but only against 6-inch and smaller guns, were equipped with cheaper but effective missiles for own defense? I've discussed this on a few videos recently, so I'm going to leave it to those where I've answered it more fully for details. But honestly, my view is a battle cruiser style thing is what you would be talking about these days, or even just calling it a cruiser. But I could see large guns, especially EMALs and especially sort of railguns and Gauss guns. Railguns being closer to EMALs, but railguns and Gauss guns, once you sort out the metallurgy of the barrels, could well come back up. Richard, USS Texas on my bucket list, waiting for her to come back from dry dock. She's on mine as well. I would love to go see Texas. Actually, here's a secret, okay? And please don't pass this on too much, because I might get in trouble with some of my colleagues over here. Because as much as I'd love to see the Iowas and the other American preserved battleships, Texas is the one I want to go see the most. I know it should be an Iowa or New Jersey. It should, especially with all the work that Ryan from New Jersey does on YouTube, it should be her. But Texas is the one I want to go see. She's got character. She's got so much character. She really has. And the others aren't quite the same. They have their personalities, yes, but Texas has character. Character is important in a ship. The meaning on a Russian battleship in 1955 that sparked a movie that was banned by France and Britain up until 1956 for revolutionary ideas, Pumpkin. It's proclaimed as one of the greatest movies ever made. I would love to know a bit more about the true history of these events, as it's around the time of the Russo-Japanese War. Pumpkin, the battleship Pumpkin, I think I have done a video where I've talked about them in the history of the Russian Navy. The Soviet Navy story, where I started off with the battleship Tonkin and what happened with it, and the reality versus the movie. But yeah, I might do something more about that at some point. Might even do a reaction to the video, well, to the movie. Darren Camel, why I thought Texas only had 12-inch guns, I do not know, but having seen this video, I praise her contribution to the world. Well, true. She's a jobbing battleship. Have 14 guns, will travel. With or without your permission. Thank you, George Hughes. Excellent presentation. I learned several new pieces of information on the USS Texas that I've not heard before. Thank you. Glad you did that. Thank you, Aaron Bark Design. Meet you aboard HMAS Councilman, USA. Keep on poodling. Will do. Speaking of that, there are Australian videos going to come out soon, but it's when I get time to sit there and edit them together, and I was meaning to be doing that this week. Back home, set up in my office with everything set up properly to sit and edit, which I couldn't necessarily do in Cornwall, and yeah, that's not happening. Most US battleships never got a chance to fire their big guns against other big ships. The Iowas ended up being used for shore bombardment and cruise missile platforms post-World War II. They did a very good job of that, though. Kanako, the early B-17s had a bomb capacity of 4 tons, roughly, so a single salvo from Texas was more high explosive than the Flying Fortress could drop. The range is drastically shorter, but I agree, we never have had a more efficient bombardment platform than the battle wagons. The heavy cruisers could do some shorter range work, but nothing surpassed the big guns. They're useful for it. Lionheart X-ray, they were special because they were everywhere. Trishun, you were saying sending the USS Texas to Mexico as part of an occupying force. Yes, somebody at the War Department took their copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People and threw it in the trash. It was kind of on the nose. In 1920, USS Texas screens the first talking picture show on the USN vessel. What was the picture? Perhaps Al Johnson's a jazz singer? There aren't that many talkies in 1927. I did have it noted down somewhere. I think it was a Western. I think it was a Western. I don't know why, but I think it was a Western. Definitely, don't be so certain that Warspite is dead. If need arises, she just might reform from all the places her steel went, like the T-1000 Terminator. You thought me dead? You're wrong. Now behold the might of the Empire. Eat 15-inch shells. No, I'm more worried the fact that they're naming a ballistic missile submarine an SSBN HMS Warspite. That is, they've done it already with an SSN. That I could tolerate. A ballistic missile submarine is not one. That literally can bring death to the king's enemies anywhere in the world at any time it wishes. That's just not a scenario I like. Genome, the joys of not having to drag your expensive battleships back home to port. The US Arizona pretty much stayed in home waters during World War I due to her bulky turbines. Even in the mid-30s, it was unusual for the battleship fleet to have major repairs to newer battleships' turbines after fleet exercises. Journeyman, I think Arizona's oil-fired boilers also had a little something to do with it, as the UK did not have vast supply of oil for fueling ships' time. No, we had enough for Arizona, definitely in World War II. We had been stockpiling oil for ships since the 1920s, the same as we built massive stores in Perth, Darwin, Singapore, Truk, and other places in Far East. We'd also built them in Alexandria, Malta, Gibraltar, and the UK. There are dozens around the UK. Fuel shortages in the UK were always an aviation or car, never ship. In fact, it frightened the Americans on occasion to realise just how much ship oil the British had stored, because they hadn't realised the stockpiles were that big, unless it was even in World War I. The Americans were looking at British going, "You have how much?" The British were going, "We've been buying some of it from you. But we didn't believe the figures. No one believed the figures. No one believed you were buying and storing that much. Why? Because we want our fleet to run. But why? Because we want our fleet to run." Sort of, they're literally looking. The British ship fuel stockpile was calculated at enough for years of operations. It was calculated in terms of years of operations it would provide support for. The British never at any point in World War II are worrying about the amount of ship fuel they have in the UK. They still take supplies, but that's because they're kind of like as said, the person who just collects stuff. They're just ordering in, even though they are sort of, they don't need it. They just keep ordering it to keep those supplies topped up, which is why at the end of World War II, they actually, I think it was the figure figured out in 1946 was they had more fuel in 1946 than they'd had in 1939, and at no point had they been at any risk of running dry. And every time they'd be going, we never drop below years of fuel left. Do you know, Harold Bowen's terrific ships, machinery, and marshbacks will very thoroughly document US Arizona World War I turbine troubles. The Los Angeles Times, June 7th, covers the USS Mississippi and USS Mexico suffering identical turbine breakdowns during fleet maneuvers. When the oil-firing Queen Elizabeth World War I, with the oil, I suspect the British were started stockpiling oil the moment the QEs were twinkling in the Admiralty's eye. In World War I, we had plenty of oil, as the ship had been stockpiling it since 1911-12. The big problem they had was enough storage space. At several points, they have tankers sitting in various parts of the UK, waiting for the Admiralty to finish building storage space for it. The joys of... You see, this is the point. This is the YouTube is repeating a comment, and people go, well, perhaps that's the person sending comment twice, but no, they've completed they've got the entire thread twice over. So I don't know why YouTube does that. That's not the humans. That's not anything to do with us. Useful D, trying to keep these under 20 minutes. He says earlier in the series. Well, I guess some things are just bigger on USS Texas. Yes. She's the USS Texas, after all. Thank you, Jack Grant. Right then. I think I'm going to call tonight. It's 11 o'clock at night, 2300 hours. I need to write the video, well, finish rewriting the slides for tomorrow's live, which hopefully I get to. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I occasionally attach questions on the end of these. But I think the question I'm going to ask is, if you were going to recommend to me, if I was going to do a solo tour of the United States, which I might do at some point, who knows, I might get a decent lecturing job or something and have the money that I can do it. Or this channel might really take off. I might have 200,000 subscribers and then I'll be able to bootstrap it through. If I can, if I was going to the United States, what would be the 5 ships I must visit if I'm traveling solo? That's the thing, if I'm traveling solo. And I'd like a mixture. I'm not going to do all battleships and carriers, as much as I enjoy them. There is a cruiser, which I've got on my list somewhere to go visit, because a very nice gentleman a while back ago was suggesting it to me and offered to give me a tour, so that would be one I'm adding, and I've got to note it down. I've got to note it down. My brain is not in a place at the moment to remember these things. I've got it all noted down. This is why I take copious notes. I have it all noted down. But yeah, top 5 ships you think I should visit if I'm travelling solo through the United States. I don't know when I'll get to do it, but it'd be nice to have a list and start thinking about it. It'd be a nice thing to have on my mind for at the moment. Thank you very much for watching, and hope you enjoyed.